and bad in online dating? That's a big question. The good, I think it gives you access to people who are outside of your bubbles, like we were talking about, and people that you don't come across in your day-to-day life, or that you wouldn't, in general, just be able to meet in your day-to-day. I think that's really valuable. I've met a lot of really interesting, cool people through online dating. I've made a lot of friends through online dating. It's a very common story for me. How did you meet? Oh, Tinder, like 4 years ago. The bad, I think we get in a swipey culture, right? You swipe left, you swipe right, and you don't really give people much of a chance. And I think there's a lot of shallowness that can go into online dating. I think in one way it's like social media, that it's designed to connect us and can along the way disconnect us because it feels so removed from our experience. I think those are some of the bads. I think also the too many choices, where you think that there's an infinite number of people, which it's true, it's true, but it's like when you're at the store and there's 15 jams and you're looking at all the jams and you get so overwhelmed by the choices that you're like, forget the jam, I'm gonna go get applesauce. This is a bad metaphor. It's that kind of idea of it's too many choices, it's an overload of information, just forget it. I think dating is just hard. And finding someone that you resonate with when you're in the same place and you're both ready to be in a relationship is really difficult.
I like to do things that I find fun. So I end up going to a lot of creative arts type of things. I think tonight we're going to an improv show that I know is really good. I'm a big foodie and cocktail person, so anytime there is a restaurant I want to try or a new cocktail bar I want to try, I love trying out new places and new parts of town that I haven't been to very much. I think that's super fun. Knowing what the other person is into and trying to tailor it to that is always really fun. Get to discover some new things. I also recognize that I'm in a very privileged position. I live in Chicago. I'm a young white woman. I don't go to a lot of places that would be in any way negative towards me. And so I don't really experience a lot of negativity around showing affection for a partner. And I've been very lucky in that, I think. So women that have been together a long time, you've probably heard the misnomer, I like to call it, of lesbian bed death, which is when two people have been together a long time and suddenly they just don't have sex anymore. But what we know from the research is that lesbians tend to have less frequency of sex, but more satisfying sex than a lot of heterosexual couples, and more orgasms than heterosexual couples. And so I think that lesbian bed death as a concept is kind of coded and in these really interesting ways, I think, to disregard lesbian sexuality or sexuality between two people who identify as women, that I don't really think is true. One thing that we do know is that in a long-term relationship, well, let me back up. There are two types of desire. So there's spontaneous, which is that idea, we all know it. It's like, I'm horny, I want to have sex. Great, okay, we're familiar with that. And that happens a lot at the beginning of a relationship. And then as you're together a long time, it can transition a little bit into this more responsive desire, which is a totally legitimate type of desire. And what responsive desire is you're on the couch with your sweetie, watching whatever, and you're cuddling, and you start cuddling more, and then suddenly you're cuddling aggressively, and your body says, oh yeah, sex. I like that. We should do that. It's putting yourself in a situation that feels safe, that feels sexy to you, and letting your body catch up. So a lot of times when people are not having sex, when they've been in a relationship a long time, it can be a pretty simple switch to say, maybe you don't have to be horny before you engage in sexual activity. Maybe you can find out what your turn-ons are and bring those into your life more intentionally and watch your body catch up and see what happens. So I see that, and that's a pretty easy tweak with people who have been together a long time. With people who are newer, I think it's about learning each other's bodies and taking the time to do that, which I think a lot of people rush through at the beginning of a relationship, and really understanding what turns the other person on, what turns you on in that relationship, and being able to actively talk about sex. I think a lot of people rush through sex because they think that it is, you start at point A and you are kind of racing like sprint style to point B being an orgasm or multiple orgasms or whatever that is, ejaculation. And you miss a lot if you're sprinting through sex. You're missing a lot of the pleasure, you're missing a lot of the really good, juicy stuff along the way. And I think it's often about slowing down when you want to understand somebody's body and really paying attention to how their body responds to your touch and checking in with them about what they like and what they don't like, and not having orgasm as like the one thing that makes sex worthwhile. There's a lot of stuff that makes sex worthwhile. There's connection, there's just pleasure in your bodies. Your biggest sex organ is your skin. It's not your brain, it's your skin, right? Enjoy more than just one tiny little area of your skin. And understanding those things about yourself and taking the time to get to know your partner's body in that way is a really valuable foundation to set up. Intimacy is about connection. So I do ultimately want my life person, like the grow old, die together, same bed, notebook style thing. But I don't think that is the only way to connect with someone. And I think that there can be a lot of different kinds of intimacy, especially sexual intimacy. And some of them are just beautiful, like one moment in time type of connections. And I think that those are just as valuable as connections that are more long-term. I think learning to appreciate a lot of different kinds of people and a lot of different kinds of bodies and ways of connecting sexually, and just having that connection with someone, I think whatever that connection is, if it's one night, if it's just a little while, if it's very long term, I think that is a valuable human to human moment. That is, and of course I'm speaking with like big language like I tend to do, and I guess I'm a romantic at heart, but I think that is a moment where you feel a lot of acceptance of who you are. Someone else is choosing to be with you in that specific way and appreciating you as a person in a space that is all about pleasure. And I think that is really powerful. So when I have couples that come and see me for intimacy problems in the bedroom, just kind of missed connections of some kind, I mean, some of the first things that I do is I ask them to connect with themselves individually. So it's really hard to connect with a partner when you're not feeling very connected to your own body or to your own sexuality. And so I will tell people to spend time with themselves, to spend time with their own pleasure, with solo sex, and really know what they like and what they want, to be able to bring that to a partner. I also talk to couples a lot about the importance of play. So our brain has these different states that it likes to get into, and sexuality and eroticism is this one state over here that is really closely related with play. Like basic play, like we did as kids. Stuff that has no point that is just silly and fun. When couples are able to tap into that, it really easily leads over to that erotic state. And often when couples are coming in to see me, sex and sexuality has become so charged and so stressful that it's not easy to get in through that route, the eroticism. It feels like too much. And so being able to tap into that by learning how to play together again, and learning how to relax with each other, and learning how to appreciate your own body and someone else's body without a goal in mind is really, really powerful for helping people heal when it comes to intimacy that's been missing or lacking for them in some way. Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I see as a sex therapist is a mismatch in libido. So one partner is wanting sex less, one partner is wanting sex more, and they're trying to figure out, how do we negotiate this? How do we manage the fact that our libidos are on different levels? And that is probably one of the most common things that I hear from couples.